We generally keep it with just me and Sam on Tuesdays. So Sam's coming up to talk some NFL in about 10 minutes. A lot of NFL on the show, some college football to get to. Also, news from baseball, where the Mets did me a favor on Monday. Thrilled. Never been happier with a Mets move. That's coming up a little later on. Odds and ends, we'll get to the WNBA, where there is a whole bunch of stuff going on as it relates to the labor strife there. The latest proposal from owners and league to players. We'll talk about that some as well. But as always, we start things with the big story. And I want to talk about the NFL a little bit. Did you watch that Giants game with the Patriots last night? Yeah, the Patriots won, and they won rather easily. But it was like rock'em sock'em robots out there on the field with guys just getting beat up and Jackson Dart getting tossed around. And it was a hard-hitting football game. And football's a hard-hitting game. That was something Jackson Dart actually talked about after the game that we'll get into a little later on with Sam, his comments after the game. And it's one of these reminders that no matter how safe the NFL tries to make the game, and we can sit here and have arguments and conversations about what steps they're really taking versus what they say they're doing versus what is actually happening on the field. And I bring this up in the context of what took place last night. And this particular play, which if you have not seen it yet, this Gunnar Olszewski play on I believe it was on a punt return last night. And Caden Ellis of the Patriots just lowering the boom on Olszewski. And by the way, no flag on this play. And as the referee analyst, the officiating analyst for ESPN said, well, he's in the open field, so helmet-to-helmet contact is okay. This isn't unnecessary roughness. This isn't a personal foul. This isn't anything. And it was hard to watch because Gunnar Olszewski was clearly concussed as a result of this hit from Caden Ellis. But what was more disturbing to me was, one, seeing the joy in Caden Ellis' face, despite the fact that Olszewski was down on the field and was clearly hurt. What upset me more was hearing after the game Caden Ellis, in talking to the media, saying, hey, my job is basically to run over anything wearing white in that game last night. That there is a mentality amongst the brethren of the NFL, this close-knit group, this small fraternity of the greatest football players in the world, that there are some within that ranks that think, hey, my job is just to run you over, even if that means hurting you, even if it means potentially ending your career. Because you never know when one of these concussions is going to turn out the lights in a way that some of these guys may never be able to play again. They may never be the same again. And I watch this, and I hear guys talk this way, and there's something mentally not right in the head of an Ellis when he makes that sort of comment. And Caden Ellis makes that sort of comment. And yet these guys are out on the football field every week. I'm not saying there's tons of them, but there's more guys out there like Caden Ellis than you probably think. And then there's Jackson Dart. And we'll get into this more with Sam later on, who's just willing to take punishment after punishment, hit after hit. And nobody on the Giants has been able to get through to this kid to explain to him, and he is a kid, you can't keep taking these hits. The cumulative effect of taking these hits. And I know we all watch Baker Mayfield on Sundays and that rough and tumble attitude, and he's going to stick his neck out there and his teammates love it. But does it spell doom for him in the long term? The same way I wonder if it spells doom in the long term for Jackson Dart to continue taking these hits week after week after week. And you'll hear his comments coming up a little later on, but he essentially said, oh, that's football. And it's why football continues to remain the most dangerous game and dangerous sport in all of the sports landscape. No matter how much the league tries to tell you otherwise or how much the league tries to tell you they're doing everything they can to make it safe. There's only so much they can do. Guys bigger, faster, and stronger. Big story topic number 2 today. Dillon Brooks, shut up. Could you have imagined in the era of Michael Jordan, a guy like Dillon Brooks going up to a Michael Jordan and talking trash the way Dillon Brooks does to LeBron James, nice game last night, Dillon Brooks. And by the way, congrats to the Phoenix Suns, who go into Los Angeles last night, down Devin Booker, and wallop the Lakers. I think they won by like 33. Wasn't even close. No, they won by 20. I'm sorry, not 33. Dillon Brooks had 33 in the game. But you've got Dillon Brooks out there talking trash to LeBron James, who's only been back for a few games. And by the way, a LeBron James that at 40 plus, 41, whatever he is now, is still better than Dillon Brooks at whatever age Dillon Brooks is. And has accomplished way more in this league than Dillon Brooks could have ever dreamed of accomplishing. LeBron had accomplished that in his first couple of years in the league. But there's Dillon Brooks. Oh, letting LeBron have it. And then Bronny James comes in late in the game. And Dillon Brooks gets the ball, and he can't even score against Bronny. And the best part of the whole thing is LeBron. There it is. All thumbs down on Dillon Brooks. Getting the last word still, even while sitting on the bench in a blowout loss to the Phoenix Suns. Dillon Brooks, what are you doing? Could you have imagined in the age of Jordan, somebody like Dillon Brooks tugging on the cape of Michael Jordan and how Michael Jordan would have reacted? I guess it's the subtle difference between today's NBA and yesterday's NBA. That wouldn't have flown very well. Somebody of the ilk of Dillon Brooks wouldn't have been doing that to Michael Jordan. All right, we got plenty of NFL in the show as we wrap up the big story on this Tuesday. Patriots are 11-2. But is it for real? Get Sam Yarnell's thoughts on that. They haven't beaten anybody. Can only beat who's on your schedule, right? Welcome back inside the SportsWrap studios in Las Vegas. I'm Jason Page. Good to have you with us on this Tuesday. I've had my say in the big story, and let's bring in Sam Yarnell for his say on some of the top NFL items of the day. Well, can I just say this before we get started? To whomever you are that keeps sending me your picks via text and saying, sign up for my pick service, whoever you are, and I know you're watching somewhere around the country, stop sending me your stupid, dopey picks, okay? Especially when you tell me, I have the mortal lock of the Giants plus 7.5. And then the Giants lose 33-15 in a game that's never really in doubt. Just stop sending me your dopey picks. I don't want to see them anymore, Sam Yarnell. I don't need to see them anymore. And we don't need to see the Giants anymore this year. They're awful. And you know what? Who knows? Maybe best case scenario, they lose out and get the top pick in the draft. They're a 2-win football team. It could happen. I don't know where they rank in the tankathon stuff, but hey, maybe the Giants could get the top overall pick. As for the Patriots, look, I'll just say this real quick, and then I want to hear your thoughts. I know they've beaten the Bills. They've beaten the Texans. I just can't get it. I know they're good. I don't know how good they are. I have a better feel for the Broncos, I feel like, than I do the Patriots right now. And I feel, and I don't think we're going to learn much more given their schedule down the stretch. We're not going to really find out what this Patriots team is until we get to the postseason and see what they do against real competition.
Yeah, I mean, just look at what they did in the second half. It was nothing. They actually got outplayed in the second half. It's actually funny. As good as Drake May was, he wasn't. He just still didn't throw for 300 yards in a game. Still hasn't done that in his NFL career, for those of you out there keeping track, like I am. And for 3 separate quarters of this game, Jackson Dart had a higher passer rating than Drake May. So I don't want to hear it about Drake May is this MVP and the whole stadium chanting MVP. You're New England football fans. I'm sorry, but you should know better. You saw one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and you should know well enough to know that Drake May is not anything close to that, because all of us looking in from the outside pretty much agree unanimously with that stance. Now, again, the Giants didn't play. They played bad defense for 2 quarters. That's what this game came down to. They played really bad defense for 2 quarters, and their cornerbacks kept getting beat out wide. And the Kyle Williams touchdown still was not a touchdown, and they never reviewed it, but it was clearly not a catch. No way that should have been a catch. And then shortly thereafter, there was another crazy play that happened, and it just felt like the Giants weren't going to get a single bounce of the ball in that game. And it's the NFL. That happens. And, to a point you made, Jason, it could in the long run be good for the Giants that they end up losing this game. You get better draft capital for a team next year that has Cam Scadaboo and Malik Neighbors coming back. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, and I think the people out there in the world think that the Giants are a lot worse than they actually are. They showed you in this game that they're not actually that bad. But yeah, I'm with you on the Patriots. It's a team that I'm not convinced that they are actually good. It does just seem like the ball keeps bouncing their way.
I think they're good. Hold on. I think they're good. I don't think they're great.
Right. Okay.
I think I think Drake May is sort of that perfect quarterback for what they do and what Mike Vrabel wants to do. I don't know if when we get to the playoffs, they're going to probably get a bye. I don't know if when we get to the playoffs, when whoever they face, things might just line up well for them. They're going to be at home. The elements could be a factor when we get into that time of the year, when we're talking about January football in New England, and that sort of plays well into their hands. It might just set up right that this team, based on matchups, based on home field, that they might just be able to do something, make some sort of special run in this mediocre year of the NFL, Sam.
I would agree with you if I could consider them a top 5 team in their conference, but I can't even do that. So they're like that. You have to be within that range at least to try and make a run at anything. And again, to my point, right? This is kind of, it seems like the thing that everyone has woken up to on this Tuesday is the fans and the emotions around the New England Patriots over the course of the last 7 years, and how, they pretend like they've been reeling and Drake May has delivered them from this dark, deep hole that they've been in, forgetting that this team not only made the playoffs with Mac Jones one year in there was a Cam Newton year where they were a wild card team up until week 18, right? Like, this is a team, this is what the Patriots do. They have these flash in the pan years every once in a while. They did it in Mac Jones' rookie year. They're doing it in Drake May's second year. It just doesn't feel real when it comes to the Patriots. And again, their fans should know better. They lived through one of the greatest dynasties in football history.
Again, they're going to say you can only beat who's on your schedule. Leave that where it is for a second. Jackson Dart got blown up on the sideline in this game, led to a penalty on the Giants. It sort of stymied a drive that they were on. After the game, and this has been a constant source of conversation, Jackson Dart asked about this style of football he's playing, where he's just throwing caution to the wind and putting his body on the line, and frankly, putting his ability to be on the field on the line. Jackson Dart postgame, here it is.
Look, I understand the question, but this is football. I'm gonna get hit if I'm in the pocket or outside the pocket. I feel like I've played this way my whole entire life. This shouldn't be any shocker to anybody if you've followed along with my career. And we're not playing soccer out here. You're gonna get hit, things happen. It's part of the game.
Sam, it might be part of the game, but putting himself, who's gonna get through to him? Because that doesn't sound like somebody who's willing to change at all what they're doing right now.
He doesn't have to. That's the thing. I agree with Jackson Dart in this situation. What he has done his whole life has gotten him to where he is. So why would he do all of that to get all the way here only to just change it? I just, especially in the middle of a season when he was thrust into the starting role, if you want to do something in the offseason, kind of like what the Bills have done with Josh Allen, I could understand that. But forcing this narrative on him doesn't feel fair, and the refs got to do better between the Dart hit and the Olszewski hit. It was a bloodbath last night for the Giants.
Well, I thought the Dart hit was fine. He was inbounds, and he tried to stretch the play an extra yard. Here's the problem. His whole life, he's been going up against people he's physically superior to. Now he's not. I'm telling you, this doesn't end well for him if he continues to play this well. All right, more from the NFL. Weekend leftovers are next. All right, let's take it to segment 3 on this Tuesday edition of the show. Let's continue in the NFL. Everybody loves leftovers, Sam Yarnell. Everybody loves leftovers, including yours truly. I'm still munching on turkey. I don't know how long you're supposed to keep turkey after Thanksgiving. Not sure if there's a hard and fast rule, but we're going to go for it today in day 5 of this turkey. See how much we can get out of it. Weekend leftovers, Sam. Start in the AFC because the chance of fire Mike Tomlin, not just rhetorically, but right inside the stadium, were certainly something to behold in this Steelers loss over the weekend. And it does make you wonder if it ends badly this season. The combination of turning the page from Aaron Rodgers, if this is indeed his final season. And by the way, I am not convinced this is Aaron Rodgers' final season. I have a hard time. Nobody gets to write their exit script. Rarely does it work out well over the last couple of years for somebody. Rarely can you be Peyton Manning and walk off the stage a Super Bowl winner, or John Elway a Super Bowl winner, or Jerome Bettis a Super Bowl winner. Rarely does it get to work out that way. I get the sense that Aaron Rodgers isn't going to want to go out this way. So I don't know if it's the Steelers next year or playing somewhere else. I have a feeling this isn't his last year. Put that aside, though. I think it's probably his last year in Pittsburgh, given some of the things we've heard him say, watching the way that he's sort of played within that offense. Talking about you, Art. I get the sense this is it for Mike Tomlin. That there's going to be, I think you could see major shakeup from a coaching standpoint in that division with John Harbaugh in Baltimore and Mike Tomlin potentially being out after this year. And in both cases, I don't think they'll get fired. I think it's just going to be a meeting of the minds where we say, all right, it's time for a change. In the case of Tomlin, start there. Does that happen?
Right. Well, what you said at the end is the most important part. We got reporting yesterday. I can't remember whether it's from Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport, one of the preeminent NFL reporters, that was essentially the family, the Steelers ownership group doesn't feel any type of way about Mike Tomlin besides he is their coach, and he will not stop being their coach until he wants to stop being their coach. So if he chooses that this year is the year all of a sudden that he wants to whatever leave, all because of, an Aaron Rodgers bad year in the midst of this incredible mid run that he's been on, okay, but it just doesn't feel like that's a Mike Tomlin thing to do. That just doesn't fit his narrative at all, to quit while you're behind, leave on a bad note, on a sour foot, leave the franchise in a bad spot. It just doesn't seem like the type of person that Mike Tomlin is. And, having this knowledge that him leaving will 100% be his choice, it doesn't feel like that choice is going to come at the end of this season, Jason.
I tend to feel like sometimes, what you hear in the moment, between now and the end of the next 4 weeks, whatever it is, I think the screams are going to get louder. I think we sometimes underestimate the impact that can have on an organization. And who knows, maybe it leads to empty seats and fans not showing up. And I don't know how many more home games the Steelers have left, but sometimes those things can have an impact. And I just think the weight of it all all these years. And I just think, and look, I think in the case of Tomlin and Harbaugh, it's very similar, where I just think they both need refreshes. I just think they both need restarts somewhere. And I think and if Mike Tomlin decides to walk away, there's going to be 20 teams lining up to go and get him. I think the same thing in the case of John Harbaugh. If he makes himself available, John Harbaugh is going to be a coach somewhere in the league, if not next year, then soon after, Sam. These are guys that are going to be highly sought, and I just wonder if when the season is done and they have a chance to step back and sort of look from afar, watching sort of the degradation of Lamar Jackson, who's looked like he has lost a step. Watching this great run and being able to appreciate what Mike Tomlin has done, but at the same time saying, hey, you know what? Maybe it's time for something different. I just think when the season ends, I think the emotions and the perspective changes. And that's why I think both these guys could be gone at the end of the year. Last word on it, real quick.
Well, I think in the situation that you laid out, Tomlin would be the one more likely to be hired quickly. Harbaugh's a guy, right, whose specialty is in special teams, right? Increasingly less and less valuable than even when he became the coach of the Ravens, but we're at a point where the NFL is literally making new rules every year to try and make special teams more fun. Harbaugh is a guy who had direct conflict with Lamar Jackson in the midst of his back-to-back MVPs all over a contract, right? And then Harbaugh is also the guy who has this incredible roster, has a back-to-back MVP quarterback, yet seemingly can never get over the hump in the playoffs. So Tomlin, to me, is a model of stability, that he's had some incredible characters over the year, and that is what in the NFL in 2025 really pays, is handling all these egos and handling all these maniacs, and that's what Mike Tomlin's been the best at the NFL at. Mm-hmm. So if I'm Kansas City, if I'm Philadelphia, and Mike Tomlin gets let go, I am jumping at the bit to pick up Mike Tomlin.
Are you worried about the Detroit Lions yet? Please don't say no. Please don't say no. They may not make the playoffs, Sam.
So this is, it's something that we'll touch more on Thursday, right? But their game on Thursday is the high water mark. That is, if they lose that game, they're done. But if they win it, they're still alive. It's the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are playing better. So maybe I am a little bit worried. If we were doing our panic meter segment, I'd be at a 3, right? I'm above halfway worried, but I'm not all the way to a 5 on Detroit right now.
I think throughout the year, I've always been the guy that has said when they lose, they're going to be fine. But something's just a little bit off. And I can't put my finger on it. I can't put my finger on it.
It's their injury luck. That's what it is. Their 29-year-old center retired before the season, tried to come back. Turns out his hamstring wasn't attached to the bone. Now their best wide receiver, one of the top 5 wide receivers in the NFL, is going to miss a couple of weeks with a significant injury. They've gotten bit by the injury bug this year.
Let's keep an eye on the Chargers as well, with Justin Herbert having surgery and whether or not he'll be on the field for them in Week 14. That's also worth keeping an eye on as well. We'll continue to keep tabs on it as we go throughout the remainder of this week. Talk about a guy that takes a lot of hits. Man alive. Lane Kiffin spoke to the media in Baton Rouge on Monday. What did he say, and how are people reacting to it? That's next on Sports Wrap. Don't go anywhere. All right, the Lane Kiffin saga continues to play out. Actually, I have a column coming out sometime on Tuesday over at msnow.com, formerly MSNBC, on the Lane Kiffin saga. Make sure to check that out when you get a chance. Sam Yarnell, Lane Kiffin met the press yesterday in Baton Rouge. Said a lot of interesting things. I don't know how much of it I believe, but the reaction around the football world has been fascinating to watch surrounding this Lane Kiffin decision. Let me give you a couple of them here and get your reaction to them, starting with Bill Cowher his reaction on Sunday when the news broke of Lane Kiffin leaving Ole Miss for LSU. Listen.
Well, before we get to the process, let's just talk about Lane Kiffin's decision and what he asked in his statement, that he was denied the opportunity to coach the Ole Miss team through the course of the playoffs. And he was denied by the AD. And I would say, why would you even ask that question? Why would an AD let a coach who made a decision that he wanted to go to LSU and not stay at Ole Miss, coach my players and use my coaches and tell them for the next month why they should be joining him at LSU? Totally understand. I would just say thank you, Lane, and goodbye.
I got to be honest, of all the points that I've heard brought up, that's the one that I think people miss out on a lot, is the aspect that he was basically going to be politicking to get all these players to leave Ole Miss and defect to LSU. And as much as I thought, hey, for the sake of the players and the sake of the program and the sake of the fan base and everything that's been invested into this team this year, they should be trying to win a national championship. Let Kiffin coach out the season the way Tulane is doing with John Summerall. This is a different situation for the reasons that Bill Cowher mentions there, Sam.
Yeah, it's definitely because of the conference opponent. I think there's a general agreement. It was patently ridiculous for Lane to want to coach this team in the college football playoff. There's no way that you can leave for not only someone in the same conference, like maybe if you were leaving for Vanderbilt, they'd let him coach the Ole Miss team in the playoff. But you're leaving for LSU. You're leaving for the next door rival. You're leaving for, everything that unfortunately Ole Miss wants to be. So yeah, I totally understand it. I totally understood the quote from alleged quote, right, from the new coach who, said, you better get your stuff out of the office while they were watching the Iron Bowl together after Lane had already. I understand it all. Yeah, I get wanting to kick him out, but again, and I'll digress to this point I made yesterday. There is no reason that any Ole Miss fan or anyone connected with the Ole Miss football organization or athletic department, they can't be mad. You have no foot to stand on when it comes to being mad. You got in the Lane Kiffin barrel. You went for the Lane Kiffin experience. You can't be mad when you get to the end of the ride. That's not how this roller coaster works. So, it was weird for Lane to want to coach them through the college football playoff, and I understand Ole Miss not letting him, but they can't be mad about the whole situation.
Exhibit B, Urban Meyer with Colin Cowherd yesterday.
Well, before we get to the process, let's just...
Lane Kiffin's not going to make a decision for money. I don't know him that well, but I know him well enough. He's more a competitor than he is worried about money. In his heart, he must have think it's going to be an easier path or a better path to win a national title. That's the only thing I can think of to be able to walk away. I don't think he even met with the players. I heard the AD won't let him. They just went the best season in the history of Ole Miss. That team is prepared to go make a run deep into the playoffs, and he's gone. I had mixed when I saw that happen. My heart hurts for those players. And Colin, a bunch of coaches got on that plane.
Yep, they did, Sam. A bunch of coaches got on that plane.
Urban is exactly right here. It's so funny he said this. I was having a conversation with a preeminent college football personality yesterday, and they said, I had them try to explain to me this whole Lane saga, because a lot of it happened before I even paid attention to college football. But essentially how it breaks down is this. Lane Kiffin had the choice to continue to try and win a national championship, which is what his ultimate goal has very clearly been. It's what he's always made clear that his goal is, right? He can either do that at Ole Miss, right, and continue to do that, right, on hard mode, right, as if it were a video game, or he can go to LSU and play the whole same game on easy mode. It's a very simple choice when it comes down to it. The resources that LSU has, the pedigree that LSU has, the recruiting base that LSU has, it's an easy decision from that perspective. And like Urban said, it seems like from everything Lane said, from everything we've heard, this wasn't a money decision.
No, sounds like he's making the same amount.
And a championships decision.
Yeah, it sounds like he's going to make the same amount of money, essentially at $9 million a year with LSU that he was going to make at Ole Miss. So, I guess at the end of the day, the interesting, and that was kind of interesting to hear him talk about at the press conference yesterday. And again, whether you believe him or not, is another story when he says, he told his agent, Jimmy Sexton, he's like, look, don't even tell me how much the money is. He goes, this might sound crazy. He goes, I don't even know how much money it is. Then again, when you're talking about the kind of life-changing money, generational wealth that somebody like Lane Kiffin has made in his coaching career, does it really matter? I mean, does it? I mean, I hate to say it, but does it really matter when you've already made as much money as he's made? They could 1-0 less, 1-0 more. It really doesn't matter, Sam.
Yeah, these college coaches, even not in the SEC, you get fired from one job and you're set for life.
Pete Golding takes over that Ole Miss job, and Lane Kiffin will still get paid on Pete Golding's success in this playoff. Isn't America great? Crazy story. Another crazy story in Major League Baseball. Steve Cohen going and poaching relievers from the Yankees. He could have this one as far as I'm concerned, but the story doesn't stop there. Why am I smiling so big today? Especially for this segment. Why am I so happy? It's addition by subtraction. I mean, go look at the Phoenix Suns this year. They're better without Kevin Durant than they are with him. Just saying. Addition by subtraction is a very real thing, Sam Yarnell. The Yankees will be better next year because Devin Williams is not on the team. And not only will they be better, the Mets will be worse because they went and signed him for $51 million off of the season he just had in New York. The Jekyll and Hyde season he just had in New York. The Mets. I wasn't planning on talking any baseball today, but I was so giddy when I saw this yesterday. I said, I have to find a way to slip it into the show for even a few minutes. The fact that Devin Williams... And there's another reason I slipped this into the show, because Baseball Armageddon is coming in about a year from now. So it all kind of ties together. But the Mets go and sign Devin Williams to a 3-year, $51 million deal, Sam Yarnell. Yes. Go get him, Steve Cohen.
Yeah. A couple of reactions. Wow. The Mets followed up like one of my favorite moves of the offseason, trading, who'd they trade for? Right. Marcus Semien? Brandon Nimmo? Yeah, right. They follow that up by giving out this contract. Woof. It's like regular season baseball Mets. Right as soon as you think they're going to win the World Series, they miss the playoffs, right? That's what this move felt like. Now, listen, let's not pretend Devin Williams wasn't great at times last year. Yeah. But when you're a reliever of Devin Williams' caliber, you need to be great all the time, and he certainly was not that. This is a Mets bullpen that can't seem to get anything right. Oh, by the way, Edwin Diaz still a free agent, and they claim they're going to still re-sign him also, which brings me to another point that I've been thinking about regarding the Mets and all this money they've been giving out for the last 18, I mean, take it even longer than that. You could take back 36 months. But when it comes to the Mets and the lockout that Jason alluded to, right, where I think the general consensus has become we'll need a salary cap of some sort in baseball to come out of said lockout, all of these contracts are going to pile up very, very quickly for the Mets. And I know there's a lot of there's like 11 years worth of deferred money on this contract. I think I read that somewhere. But that's still going to count against the salary cap, and that's not going to be very fun. That is, the Mets are starting to set themselves back with contracts that exceed talent. And that's something you never want to do in a salary cap sport.
Let me tell you, the other news of the day concerning the Mets yesterday, indirectly, was this news of 3 new casino licenses were handed out by the state of New York, because they want to put a few more casinos in New York, going to generate all this tax money, which is great, because then you could have free buses and free grocery stores, which Zoran Mamdani wants to put in New York. Another topic for another time. Anyway, one of the casino licenses has been granted to Steve Cohen, who's going to put up a giant complex right next to Citi Field, which is going to include a casino that by 2030 will be up and running and is anticipated to generate several billion, with a B, dollars for Steve Cohen. So if there is no salary cap, the spending war that's going to take place East Coast, West Coast between the Mets and the Dodgers is going to be epic to watch over the next several years, Sam Yarnell, which leads us into the baseball Armageddon question that we've been having about how sustainable the current system in Major League Baseball is. And everybody right now is just thinking, foregone conclusion, there's going to be a work stoppage next year. And I got news for you. The players aren't going to bend one bit on this idea of a salary cap. This could, and I'm not trying to paint the doom and gloom scenario here, Sam, but this could be a work stoppage for a very long time if the player's stance is no cap.
Yeah, I think that the players need to educate themselves more. And obviously, I'll say the quiet part out loud, right? Bryce Harper needs to educate himself more because he's very clearly and very openly been on the forefront of the no cap thing. Well, I'll tell you what, Bryce, there are a lot of benefits that can come with a cap, and you can still make just as many hundreds of millions of dollars as you made. And quite frankly, you could even make more money than that, and you could have stayed in the city that you loved, but instead you went to Philadelphia and decided to lose every offseason. I lost my train of thought because there was another point I wanted to make about this. But when it comes to the salary cap, the players are eventually going to have to budge, Jason, because it sucks. The owners hold the power. They do. In the offseason that we are heading into with this CBA negotiation, the owners are the ones that currently hold the power. So the players are eventually going to have to budge.
I don't think so. I really don't. I see this as a high-stakes game of chicken with two cars literally driving down a one-lane road at each other, and somebody's going to have to veer off to the side of the road. And I don't know who it's going to be, Sam, because players, we've gone through this before. I lived through it in the mid-90s. We've gone down this road before, and we've seen how it's ended. I mean, the players literally said, we don't care. We'll lose an entire off season.
It nearly killed baseball last time, right? I remember my other point, and I'll make it in the last 30 seconds here.
Go ahead.
Dear Steve Cohen, have you ever been to Willett's Point, where the 7 line and the LIRR meet to drop people off for Citi Field? You are going to ruin that train station building this casino. Please don't do it.
It's happening. Forget it. That's a done deal. A couple of more casinos going to be going to New York. One in the Bronx, up near a golf course. I don't know if that's Van Cortlandt, where they're going to put that golf course, where they're going to put that casino. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Odds and ends are right around the corner. News from the WNBA labor front to get to there. All right, just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Tuesday. If you haven't done so already, make sure to check out the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast. It's available on all your favorite podcasting platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon. Anywhere you get a podcast, you can listen to this show Monday through Friday while you're driving to work, on the treadmill, in the gym. No matter where you are, you can check out this show, and we hope that you will do so. It is a fantastic listen for 45 minutes, and again, go and get it wherever you get your podcasts. But in addition to that, there's more. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel, which if you haven't checked it out yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. Go and grab it. Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel has the show, the TV version of the show, available Monday through Friday. It is commercial free. You get all the same great content. And a pro tip here, that version of the show that goes up on YouTube is actually available. You can watch us there before anywhere else. Monday through Friday, the YouTube version of Sports Wrap with Jason Page. But in addition to that, we also have Sports Wrap Shorts, which are these great commentaries, recaps on the biggest games, the biggest stories in sports when they break. Because let's face it, we have an hour every day and we tape the show in the morning, and you never know what news is going to break during the day. Sports Wrap Shorts has you covered for that. available on our YouTube channel. Also, Sports Wrap shorts available on our TikTok, Sports Wrap Jason page, and on our Instagram. Boom. There it is. Sports Wrap Jason page. Easy to remember. Go and subscribe to those. We would appreciate you doing so. Without any further delay on this Tuesday edition of the show, time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends. Let's hope we're getting to the end when it comes to the WNBA potential work stoppage. That owners and players can get on the same page here. The latest peace offering, if you will, from the WNBA owners and the league is this, this idea of increased salaries for players. And I get it. I'm not a player in the WNBA. I'm not a woman fighting for the survival of this league and fighting for the right to make more money and something closer to equitable pay for what they see their male counterparts making in various sports. And obviously there's a lot of layers to this conversation. It is not just as simple as pay us what you pay the men. Well, your league doesn't generate as much as the men. Will it be generating more? Yes. And that is why the league is stepping forward and now offering max salary bases of $1 million. What does all that mean ultimately? Revenue sharing. You're going to see the potential for increased salaries as the revenue pie grows year over year. And look, the owners and the players have agreed to extend this collective bargaining session till early January to try and get a deal done. I don't know if they get one done by then, but here's the advice I would give to players. And again, far be it for me, mansplaining Jason Page to the women of the WNBA. Find a way to get to yes rather than continuing to find ways or reasons to be at no. That's what I want to see right now from the WNBA players. Figure out a way to get to yes rather than reasons to stay at no. And if they do that, I think hopefully they'll get a deal done. Who knows? Maybe by Christmas. Big Christmas present for all of us is avoiding a work stoppage in the WNBA. Odds and ends. We thought it was the end for Serena Williams when she last played in the U.S. Open in 2022. Well, not so fast, Lee Harvey, because now there is word that Serena Williams, the GOAT when it comes to women's tennis, has decided to re-enter the anti-doping pool, so to speak, meaning she has to be tested by the folks that test for improper use of different drugs and performance-enhancing drugs and drugs in general that are banned in order to play tennis. Does that mean Serena Williams is coming back? Why else would she enter this pool? And Serena Williams has never used the term retirement. She's sort of evolved away from tennis. We've seen her in the Row commercial. She looks fantastic, by the way. But could we see Serena Williams back out on a tennis court? Maybe just in time. Maybe she wants to go play the Australian Open. Sign me up for that. It's kind of a wild story. You think about her at this age, the 23-time Grand Slam champion. Could we see her back out on a tennis court sometime soon? She's 44 years old. Would you put anything past her? I wouldn't. I mean, she's the GOAT. I love underdog stories. And the idea of a 44-year-old Serena Williams, going out there and trying to compete still against the best young players in the world, I'm good. I'll sign up for that. Maybe we'll see her in Melbourne at the Australian Open. It's going to wrap it up for us on this Tuesday edition of Sports Wrap. Something good to end the show on, right? Serena. I'll tell you what, I guarantee you she'll still win a match or two if you put her out there, even at 44 years old. She's not commenting, by the way. So we don't officially know, but sounds like she's coming back. Thanks to Sam Yarnell. We'll see you all back here tomorrow for another edition of Sports Wrap. Hi there, I'm Jason Page. You like what you're watching? Subscribe. We've got SportsWrap shorts on this channel. We've got the show. We've got clips from the show. What else do you have to do? You probably follow a lot of other things that aren't half of they're not half as exciting as this show is. So what are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button, follow the channel, watch the content. Bye.